I had taken 2 weeks off, but I had to make a decision. Am I going to press forward or am I just going to curl up and put my head in the sand and call it a day? My mom said to me, you know what? Nobody can take your education away from you, regardless of any outcome. And that was really the mindset of, you know what? I can overcome. I can do better. I hate where I'm at right now. I'm
Mm.
not really sure if I deserve to move forward, but I'm going to give it the best shot that I can.
Dr. Shanea Clancy defines resilience. Her story starts in nursing school as an EMT who had a drink and tragically experienced a fatal accident behind the wheel of an ambulance. But amazingly, her story doesn't end there. After serving time, she worked multiple jobs through an accelerated nursing program, dreaming of the one thing the world couldn't take from her: education. Instead of quitting, and trust me, she wanted to, she dug in, powered by discipline and a deep commitment to serving others. We talk about forensic nursing, expert witness work, mentorship, and how adversity can redefine both leadership and purpose. Welcome to Shadow Me Next, a podcast where I take you into and behind the scenes of the medical world to provide you with a deeper understanding of the human side of medicine. I'm Ashley, a physician assistant, medical editor, clinical preceptor, and the creator of Shadow Me Next. I invite you to join me as we take a conversational and personal look into the lives and minds of leaders in medicine. This is Shadow Me Next with Dr. Shanea Clancy. Dr. Clancy, thank you so much for joining us today on Shadow Me Next. What a treat this is going to be. You have an incredible story that is really just bathed in tragedy early on. And we're here to talk about the ways in which you have taken that resilience forming situation and really just absolutely ran with it, and not for your own benefit, for the benefit of others, which is just the coolest thing. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yes, and thank you for having me. It's an honor.
The honor is mine, truly. So let's go back a little bit before we dive in to some of these harder, more burning questions. Did you know you wanted to go into medicine from the beginning? You stepped from EMS into nursing, and you have your doctorate of nursing practice. You have a bunch of other amazing things that you do. Is this the trajectory that you expected for your life?
It is not the trajectory that I expected from my life in the least. My mom always tells me when I was younger, I said I wanted to be a doctor. Doctor is a loose term that I've learned along the way, right? There's
It's
a lot
true.
of different doctoral degrees, and that's really all I knew. There's nobody in my family that has any medical background, and it was just
Wow.
something that showed up, and I just ran with it.
Incredible. Where did you find mentorship or motivation early on? Did you did you have somebody there that was kind of guiding you and saying, "Hey, maybe you should start with nursing, or maybe you should start with EMS," or was it really just a self-directed discovery?
Self-directed. I didn't even know what a mentor was really growing up. So I quickly learned that if I wanted to get to where I wanted to be and where I am, I needed to invest in myself, which involves mentorship and coaching, which is why I now do that as well.
That's perfect. I mean, I think, it's lovely to be able to give back, especially in situations where we didn't have that initially. And
Mhm.
that's how we grow. And that's how we pour into the next generation. So you started EMS and became a nurse soon after that. Is that a typical route as a PA? A lot of my classmates were EMS before they went to PA school. And a lot of that is in order for them to, get their patient contact hours and develop tools that are really, really serve them as PAs. Is
Yeah.
that common for nurses?
Honestly, I don't think it is. Maybe it is, but I was in
Either.
nursing school before I even did EMS.
Oh,
Excuse me.
wow. Yes.
Yeah, and it was actually a friend that was like, you should get into this to kind of round out your skill set and just learn more in the field. And I was like, okay, that sounds fun. Let's do it.
Wow. And then you were also on a fast track nursing trajectory as well, right? I mean, how did you make time for all of that?
Um, so it actually was interesting because I'm a first generation college student. And so we're trying to figure out how to even go to college or any
Yeah.
kind of educational setting was really challenging. I remember my parents were like, okay, and figure out how to fill out FAFSA. And that was
Wow.
a feast of itself. And they were like, we're not co-signing anything. And I was like, I don't even know what we're having this discussion about yet, but okay, I'll go
Yeah.
figure it out. And that's really where it started, where I just was like, I need to do what I need to do to get to where I need to go. And I don't even remember applying to the school that I went to, which sounds very odd. And I remember getting this phone call to come do the interview at West Penn Hospital School of Nursing, which is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so I went, and next thing I know, like I'm in nursing school. I'm like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be, and I like it so far.
That's incredible. That really is. There's divine intervention there. I think
Absolutely.
absolutely an amazing story and a really great thing for the person listening who might say, I don't even know where to begin. You didn't know where to begin. Your
I
parents
had
didn't know
no
where to
clue.
begin. No. And it's doable, right? I think so often people will say, Ashley, I'm so concerned I'm behind. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more later on, but they're concerned that they're behind. They're concerned that they don't know what's lying ahead. I mean, I think you and I could both tell them, don't be. And by the way, a lot of people don't know what's lying ahead. You kind of just have to
Yeah,
start.
it's true, but it's so challenging for the person hearing that. I know it was for me. You're like,
Mhm.
yeah, okay. Like it's gonna be okay. Are you sure? I mean, I see where you're at, but I'm not connecting the dots, especially when we're just coming out of high school or
Mhm.
a couple of years after that. Like our brains are still developing and trying to figure out what is even going on and how we even got there. And that transition from high school to any kind of college setting can be scary.
Mhm. Mhm. No, absolutely. Well, and we'll talk about resiliency a lot in this episode too, but it's a resiliency forming opportunity really. And, I
Mhm.
encourage people to write down those feelings that they have and write down when, or, describe how they're feeling in that moment. And then looking back on it when they're in their profession and they're about to make a major shift, for example, and it feels really unusual and unknown, they can say, well, I've definitely been here before.
Mhm.
And I was making no money. I was actually giving people money. And it was a lot of it. It's much scarier back then. Um,
Yeah, I was scraping quarters from the couch or something to everybody has their own journey of how we get here.
scraping quarter. Oh my God, I love that. I probably do need to go check my couch on a side note because my children will find those quarters and they will run off with them. That's for sure.
Mhm.
While you were in EMS, of course, you experienced this just amazingly tragic, life altering situation that we discussed a little while ago. When it came to that moment, you were in the middle of nursing school. Is that right?
I was I was in the middle of nursing school and I was working at two EMS stations because I had to put myself through school too. So I actually had three different jobs, not all full time, but I was doing three different jobs while going to an accelerated nursing program full time.
What was the most important mindset that you had in that moment that you think really pulled you through? Because a lot of people say, well, Ashley, school is so hard and I'm so overwhelmed and I don't know how I'm going to do this. And then I talk to people like you, for example, who literally succeeded in school despite unimaginable situations. What mindset? What mindset did you have? And how did you do it?
At first, I really wanted to give up. I was like, I don't know if I will go back to nursing school. And since it was such an accelerated program, you can miss 2 weeks, period, throughout like
Whoa.
anything. And so it was very, very structured. I had taken 2 weeks off, but I had to make a decision. Am I
Mhm.
going to press forward or am I just going to curl up and put my head in the sand and call it a day?
This is a segment on the show where we discuss interview questions that you might hear on your own pre-health interview. What Dr. Clancy is talking about here brings up a really great interview question. Tell me about a time you wanted to stop moving forward, but chose to continue anyway. What helped you decide? And how did that moment shape how you handle uncertainty now? Do this. Write down one moment where you wanted to quit. Then write down what you learned from staying. That reflection is interview gold. And it doesn't just stop at quality questions. There are more resources for you as a pre-health student on shadowmenext.com to include our newly released application readiness course. So head on over to courses.shadowmenext.com and check it out.
My mom said to me, you know what? Nobody can take your education away from you, regardless of any outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in that moment, I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. And if nothing happens after I complete my education, I can at least say I did it.
Right.
Because I've always been raised, if you start something, you complete it. And then you decide whether you're going to do it again or not. And that was really the mindset of, you know what? I can overcome. I can do better. I hate where I'm at right now. I'm
Mm.
not really sure if I deserve to move forward, but I'm going to give it the best shot that I can.
It's such a testament to your discipline and your future thinking. I mean, we all fall into these situations of self-doubt, I think is a big one. And future thinking I mean, I think some people call it manifesting. Yeah, maybe, but really it's a plan, right? Where am I going? How am I going to get there? Let's make it happen. Absolutely incredible. I'm so glad that you're where you're at, because the things that you're doing right now, as we'll talk about with the Mountaineering Mindset Academy and the handbook, are just amazing. So you've graduated nursing school at this point. And you work as a forensic nurse. Can you describe what forensic nursing is for us who might not know?
So I get this question often, and I like to tell people, and I don't know, maybe I should change my wording, but I'm like, it's all the things that most people don't want to do.
Mm.
And that is mental health, addiction, assaults, sexual assaults, physical, anything like that, domestic violence, crime scene investigation, expert witness. So we see these on TV, right? And there's that separation of real life and then what we're seeing. But like when it gets to the nitty gritty, is this something that somebody wants to pursue, right? Because it's
Right.
definitely not the best of times in any of these situations.
Mm-mm.
And yes, to answer your question, I did not choose forensic nursing. It chose me.
Tell us how that looked. I mean, was it something that you just stumbled upon, something you heard about? Was it informed from your situation while you were working as an EMS?
I had no clue what forensic nursing was. So I did my bachelor's online, and then I decided, you know what, I'm going to keep going. I'm not really sure where. And I had seen Duquesne University oftentimes when I was riding the bus at that time. And I'd look up on the hill and I would see it. And I'm like, that's where like rich people go. There's no way I'll ever be able to go there. That's like the rich kids' school, right? It's private, Catholic. And I'm like, I don't know. But I had this in my heart that I really wanted to attend there. I was like being pulled, and I'd never been on campus at all. And I started to explore a little bit, had met with people there. And then I learned they had this forensic nursing track. And I'm like, what is that? Like, talk to me about that.
Yes.
And I was like, you know what? That's literally everything I've been through. This should probably be cakewalk. Now I've got the life experience, and let me get the credentials to kind of round that out. I figure there's two types of people in the world that would want our services.
Mhm.
People that want our expertise and people that want our personal experience. So why not blend them?
Absolutely incredible. Wow. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. The riding on the bus, just literally seeing your future right there. What do those situations look like? So when somebody wants your expertise or when somebody wants your personal stories, describe a little bit about, how that whole process works from start to finish.
Yeah. So just like you who happen to find me and then, research a little bit on personal story, there's people that are drawn to that. Like, how did you get there? How did you come out of it? Like those kind of things. And I would say also that ripples. Like there's been
Mm.
Fortune 500 companies I've spoke at that focus on safety a lot. And so they would want, personal background stories for their drivers or for anybody that's in quality. And then when it comes to other services in general, like consulting, crisis intervention, trauma informed care, mental health, addiction. So I ended up going to get certified as a certified addiction registered nurse, advanced practice, and then a global fellow of the International Academy of Addiction Nursing. So the expertise spans not only the backyard, but globally. And that's oftentimes where people are looking because people are struggling, and everybody thinks addiction is like pills or
Mhm.
alcohol or opiates. Addiction is anything that we consume in excess.
Mhm.
Shopping, exercising,
Social media.
leadership, anything. People can be addicted to anything that's taking away from their purpose or what they really should be focusing on.
It's incredible. I feel very convicted right now. I mean, that's
We all do.
it's an important conversation. You mentioned a couple of things that I would like to just briefly ask you about because I think that a lot of people have heard about this but might not know a lot about it. You serve as an expert witness in some
Mhm.
cases. Do you want to do, is that something people want to do, or is that something that you feel drawn to and it's almost like a pride of profession sort of thing? Tell us a little bit more about being an expert witness.
So for me, it's something that I always wanted to do, especially after doing the forensic nursing degree,
Mm-hmm.
because that really does elevate your expertise. But I also wanted to be able to serve in a capacity that would be neutral. A lot of the experts that people bring in, they may be one-sided or the other, but what they're really looking at is, can somebody look at this situation from a neutral perspective, just bringing their expertise to the table? And I think that it's very fascinating to be part of that process, but also just chart reviews. So
Mm-hmm.
that's an expertise as well, where, maybe there's a death investigation case or a suicide. Like, I've done so many chart reviews for possible suicides, and you're like looking back at, how did that person get there? Was there anything missed? Just a whole realm of just looking at chart reviews and helping attorneys with that medical jargon. Unless you're an attorney that has done med school, which there's quite a few of them,
Yes, there are.
they might need to seek some assistance out in, what does this terminology mean?
Is that something that you do pretty frequent? I guess it probably depends on your field of medicine. It depends on your interests. But is it something that you do quite often, or is this very random, irregular, every so often type of work?
Yeah, it's regularly irregular. I think that makes sense. There's like more pockets that will come up than others. It just really depends on the need of the legal system in that case. Like,
Very cool.
currently, I have somebody who sought me out from a different state to kind of take on a very broad aspect of the state when it comes to different ways that things are managed within like foster care and the mental health aspects. And it's just interesting things that kind of just fall into my career path. And a lot of it has to do with just being open minded, willing, and coachable.
Incredible. Which coachable, my goodness, you have created this incredible gift to people, all people, but really pre-health students, are pre-med, pre-nursing, pre-PA, pre-physical therapy, the list goes on, will really, really benefit from this. And that's the Mountaineering Handbook. And I'm going to read a little excerpt about this book from your website, but it says it's a handbook for anyone looking to hone their leadership skills or triumph over adversity. And it blends mountain stories with leadership lessons so you can navigate transitions and setbacks. We like to think we're never going to have setbacks, right? We really like to believe that it's always going to be a steady pace, no two steps forward, one step back, none of that. But we know that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about what this program means to you and who this handbook is for.
So I am so excited. Here's the book. I'll show you. It's kind of crooked.
Gorgeous.
Yes, I just like the colors. It's very inviting, and just meant a lot, resonated with me personally, but it's really for anybody. And you had asked me several questions, right? How did I get here? What
Mm-hmm.
made me think this? Resilience. We talk about all these that we've talked about so far, and I'm sure there's so much more. This was really a download that I like to call how I was harnessing all of the gifts that I've been given into one guide,
Mm-hmm.
one separated, differentiated program. I researched diligently. There's nothing out there like this. And I am a trained mountaineer. So I had to put it together, and it really just hit me one day where I'm like, you know what? Every single aspect of life happens on an ascent and a descent. And it doesn't
Mhm.
even have to be a physical mountain. It can just be that mental mountain.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So for the handbook, is it something that we read? Is it something that that is a reflective exercise? What can we expect to see when we open up those pages?
So this is a book. This one is a book, right? And so it
Amazing.
has a lot of like the foundations. Like I talk about base camp and what tools do you need at base as opposed to different sets or different parts of the mountain. But it's all tied back to leadership, mindset, doubts, conquering negative, insights,
Mhm.
thoughts. The guide itself that will be dropping here shortly as well, because there's two different ones. This will be more like a workbook, I should say. So this would be the
Fantastic.
guide, and then a workbook to coincide with it, and that will be more of the footwork. The current one has some reflective prompts, but the other one is going to be what the wraparound is for both sides of it.
And you might just pick up a newfound hobby in the middle of reading all of this, and that's mountaineering. How cool is that? How important are our hobbies right now? I mean, you working in medicine, you do incredible things. You literally have your hands in so many different arenas, and yet you still make time and save space for some of these things that just, I would imagine, bring you a lot of joy. How important are these things for us as clinicians, especially?
Oh, clinicians and students, because who we surround ourselves with is who we are. And so, if we want to elevate ourselves and learn, you can't unless you reach out and you ask.
Mhm.
Nobody's nobody's going to know that you want to shadow in a specific area of a field in a niche unless you ask. And there's no better time to ask than when you're a student. Everybody wants to help a student because they're like, oh, they really want to learn. They're very interested in this instead of like being voluntold, hey, this is the unit you're going to. And the person's like, oh, I got wet feet. Cardiology is not my field. And so it's very important because even the hobbies, you never know where that will go. I didn't get into mountaineering initially. I met cyclers. I was into cycling. And it
My
turns out
goodness.
that the people that I'd met were also like very highly trained mountaineers, like have done the Swiss Alps and by
Whoa.
themselves. And so it's about mentorship, just being willing, try new things. And it's very important because it's also self-care.
Mm, mhm. Which is huge, absolutely huge right now. So her book is available on shaneaclancy.com. That's ShaneaClancy.com. I'll link it in the show notes below. Before we wrap up, we've mentioned resiliency a lot, and I think it's a term that students hear all the time, and we throw around as clinicians and as if we're interviewing and as mentors all the time. And a student would say, Ash, how am I supposed to develop resiliency? Do I have to put myself in really, really hard situations in order to develop that skill? And I would love to hear your opinions on this because hopefully the answer is not necessarily.
That is the answer. But a hard situation, what does that look like? It looks different for everybody. So maybe it is literally trying to figure out how to get into school. That's a hard, challenging setback, right? It can be something as simple as, hey, I need to figure out how to do my checking account because nobody taught me that in high school.
True.
And that's a setback, right? So you've overcome that. It can be anything. Whatever is important to you might be different from somebody else. And when we talk about resiliency, oftentimes people think of it that there has to be some kind of setback to move forward.
Mm,
There's two sides to resiliency, and I feel oftentimes the other side is overlooked and I think more important. So it is actually taking that time to reset regardless where we are in our careers or school or life. is to just take that time, that reprieve, set back time to be able to unplug, evaluate where we are, and then get our head back in the game to continue where we're headed.
That's perfect. You're right. It's very overlooked because I think people feel like they're in a difficult situation. Let's push through, get to the other side and continue on. The reflection and reflective nature of that, that is genius. You are amazing. Dr. Clancy, thank you so much for joining us on Shadow Me Next today. This has just been incredible. Forensic nursing expert witness. Now I feel like I can at least intelligently speak on some of these things. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your story. And thank you for creating the Mountaineering Mindset Academy, which is available on your website, this handbook and the soon to come guide. This is amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, Ashley, for having me. I hope your listeners and your audience have gained some nuggets and ninja tricks to continue being awesome.
Thank you so very much for listening to this episode of Shadow Me Next. If you liked this episode, or if you think it could be useful for a friend, please subscribe and invite them to join us next Monday. As always, if you have any questions, let me know on Facebook or Instagram. Access you want, stories you need. You're always invited to Shadow Me Next. Please keep in mind that the content of this podcast is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as professional medical advice. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, employer, or company.